to my channel Learn Code Every Day. In this video I'm going to show you how to use OpenAI APIs. So here in this video we're going to use the OpenAI APIs, and using which we're going to generate the text from the prompts. We're going to see how we can able to achieve this. First and foremost thing, you need to go to the openai.com, and here you need to log into your website, that is OpenAI. If at all you're not having the account in the OpenAI, then you have to create an account in OpenAI. With that you can able to log into your account and get the API keys. In my case, I'm already having the account with me. I'm going to log in with my Google. Alright, now I have successfully logged into the OpenAI, and as soon as if I log into this, it is giving me two options, ChatGPT and API. I hope you already know some knowledge about the ChatGPT, and let's see some kind of a prompt that we can able to generate with the ChatGPT. For example, in the ChatGPT, by default I'm using the ChatGPT 3.5, and you can ask the ChatGPT generate an email to my boss for sick leave, and let me mention some details. My boss name is John and my name, you can give something like Mike. Okay, that's what some kind of a prompt, and using which my ChatGPT will generate this. Let's say, let me give the most specific. I just want to generate a very short email to my boss for sick leave. Let me send a message and see what the request that you're getting. Alright, this is the really cool small email from the ChatGPT that we got. And again, you can see which we actually use the ChatGPT and using which we generate this. Now the idea of using the API is we're going to send the prompt and we're going to receive this message using the APIs, and with that you can able to use to your own websites. In order to get those things, what you have to do is you need to go to the OpenAI and the main website of the openai.com, and here you can see there is an API, and click on this, and here you can go to the docs of this. Okay, since you have already logged into the OpenAI, and your details will also get logged into the OpenAI platform, particularly for the docs and the API reference. And on the left hand side you can see some pane, and inside that we have some tabs are there like playground, assistant, fine-tuning, API keys, files, usage, and settings. And what you can do is that first click on the usage. The moment if you click on the usage, it will give you some monthly analysis and some kind of analytics that you have for the monthly usage, that is how much money that you're using for the OpenAI. By default, every new account that you have signed up for the OpenAI will get the $5 credit for free, means you are in the free trial. For example, in my case, you can see that I got the $5 credit for free, and I'm using the free trial service or free trial subscription. And here you can see out of $5 I have used $2.04, means out of that you can see approximately $3 is already left out for me. And you can see your plan details and everything, and the settings on the left hand side below usage, you can see the settings is there. If you click on this, and under this there is a billing is there. If you click on this billing, and here you can see the subscription type, the default or by default you'll get the free trial, or if at all you want to get the more payment methods or some kind of a premium pricing, etc., you can also select those things. But as of now you will get the free trial. If at all you are not seeing this kind of messages, probably your free trial might be expired. And if at all you want to get the free trial limit, and create a new account in the OpenAI, and you can get the free trial particularly for the text generation. Alright, make sure you have some credit limit If your credit limit is 0, your API keys will not work. Cool. So once you have the credit limit and everything is fine, and then on the left hand side about settings, you can see there is API keys is there, right? Click on this, and here you can see that I have already created one of the API key, and let me create the new API key. Just click on the new API key and write the name of the key. Let's say it is my key, and that's the name I just want to give. And in the permissions, you give all the permissions. Don't select the restricted or read only. Let's select all and click on create secret key. Alright, so once you've done this, you can see that you can get some secret key. Let's copy it, and please do remember that you can't able to view this again. So as soon as if you click on done, you cannot able to view this API key again. So make sure and just copy it and save it in some kind of a text document where you're going to use that API key. So let's do one thing. Let me open my notepad and paste the API key here, and this is the API key I'm going to use to connect to my GPT models. Okay, so let's paste it in somewhere, and you save this in some safe location wherever you can find this. For example, I'll just put it in my desktop, and let's say this is my OpenAI API key, and let me save it. Okay, so that's an API key which is encrypted, and once you click on done, and that's it. You can see that you can't able to view your API key, never. You cannot use it, and if at all you forgot to copy it, then you delete this and create a new secret key again, because you cannot view this API key again and again. Alright, so done. Now we have ready, and we have created the API key. And the next step is on the left hand side. Here you can see there is a documentation is there. Just click on the documentation. The documentation from OpenAI is excellent. You can simply use this documentation and connect with the help of APIs, and you can able to create your own application. And the documentation also contains a code which is actually ready to use. Now I'm going to use a documentation from the OpenAI and connect to the GPT models using APIs using the documentation. Okay, if we click on this quick start, and we have some kind of a developer's quick start is there, and this documentation will give you the good understanding of how we can use the OpenAI API keys, and using which you can connect to the GPT models. Alright, if you look into the code, or if you look into the steps to connect to the OpenAI API, is the first step is we need to set up the Python. So make sure that you have already the Python that is running up with you. If not, just install the Python from the python.org website, that is the official website of this, and here it is giving you the minimum version that you have to use the OpenAI is 3.7.1 and or newer versions. Anything more than 3.7.1 at least as of now, which means that make sure just look into the documentation. Today I see 3.7.1. maybe tomorrow you might get the different Python versions. Alright, so you make sure you install Python and then set up the virtual environment. This is an optional step which is not actually required, and if you want to create the virtual environment, that is also good. And next we need to install the OpenAI library. So in order to install library, we can use the pip install --upgrade and OpenAI. Okay, so let's see the step number 1. In my case, I have already installed the Python with me, so I'll just proceed with the setting up the virtual environment and installing the OpenAI Python library. Let me minimize this, and now you can open your any text editor that you're using. In my case, I'm going to use the PyCharm, the most widely used text editor. If at all you are using a Jupyter Notebook or Spider or Visual Studio Code, it's happy to use whatever the Python versions that you want. Okay, so let me go to File, and let me create the new project. and let me create one folder. Let me set up this. And by default, let me also create the virtual environment here, and the Python version that I'm using is 3.11. If at all you're having the new Python version, it's happy to use, but make sure the Python version that we are using is greater than 3.7. Once you're done, just click on the virtual environment and create from existing source, this window, and next. Alright, now I have successfully created one project and also installed the virtual environment here. Okay, cool. Now the next step is we need to install the OpenAI library. Let's quickly install the OpenAI library. Let me use the PyCharm itself, and let me open the terminal. And by default, you can see that I already connected to the virtual environment, and in the virtual environment of the Python, let me install the OpenAI using pip install -- upgrade. So obviously this command is not required. Let me use just pip install OpenAI and press enter, which will install the OpenAI package for me. Alright, now I have successfully installed the OpenAI, and let me create the new main file. Let me remove everything. Let's create some empty file, and here let's test whether we have successfully installed OpenAI or not by just import OpenAI. And once you're done, let's print OpenAI imported successfully. Okay, there are two ways that we can run. Is just type the python main.py. It's the one of the way that we can able to run, and which means that I have successfully imported the library. So which means my OpenAI is working and installed successfully. As I said, there are two ways that we can run this. One is with in the terminal. The other is I'm going to show you the Python console, which I will use in the next part of the lesson. Okay, so this is the Python console. Anyway, let's go to my documentation, and we are ready, and we have successfully installed the API, OpenAI. Now the next step is we need to set up the API key. Let's see the documentation for the Mac or OS. You can use some basic steps that we have. The first is we need to open the terminal, and you need to edit the bash or proc file, and you can you need to execute this following command, and you do all these things. But simply what I can do is even in the Windows we have some kind of multiple commands that was there, but of course this is actually recommendable. Instead, let me follow the second step, is setting up the API key for a single project. So what it actually means is that it's asking me to create a variable naming as OpenAI _ API _ key, and provide the API key to it, and you can call using the client OpenAI. So by this you can simply able to connect to your code to the OpenAI. Okay, let's go to my code, and what I'll do is let me import this. So let me import from OpenAI. Let me import OpenAI. Now let's create some variable name client equal to OpenAI, and here we need to provide the API key for it. So before this, what we will do, let me create a variable OpenAI _ API _ key. Now remember that we have already copied and pasted in one of the text document our API key. let's carefully copy this and open the strings or quotes and paste the OpenAI key here. Let's save it. And now in the OpenAI method, let's provide the API key equal to OpenAI API key. Now let's save it. The next step is we need to simply send the prompts to this client. So let's see the steps that what we can do here. Is that step number 3 is sending your first API request. In order to make the API request, what you have to do is we need to create the chat completions, and then we need to select the GPT models that you want to select, and followed by the message that you want to send to here. And if you carefully look into the message here, we have the system, content, and in the content it's mentioned something, and also the role in the user content. This is actually the prompt that we are asking the ChatGPT or the GPT model. What I'll do is let me simply copy this piece of code and go to your text editor or code editor and paste the code here. And if you debug the code, or if you look into the code very carefully, what we have is a client. In this client we have the chat completions and create, and here we are passing the argument as model, and the model that we have provided is GPT 3.5 Turbo. So how we can know this model? So what is the models and what are the different types of models that we have? Let's quickly look into this. If we go back to the documentation page, and here you can see in the next section of the quick start there is a models is there. If you click on these models, you can see the different models that which we can use for the API key request. It's GPT-4, GPT-4 Turbo, GPT 3.5, DAL-E, TTS, Whisper, embeddings, moderation, GPT base, etc. And as I said, like we can also use a GPT-4 models. You can also request the APIs for the GPT-4 models, but however there is some pricing. Of course, for every API request that we are trying to request has some pricing is there. For pricing details of these models, what we can do is go to the website, that is openai.com, and in the official website there you can see that in the navigation bar above there is an API link is there. Just click on this API, and below that you can see the pricing is there. Just click on the pricing, and once you are in the pricing page, then you can scroll down, and there you can see the pricing for the language model. It says that the multiple models, and each and every model has a different capabilities and the price point, and the prices are per 1,000 tokens. Means for every 1,000 tokens the prices has been made. Generally you can think the token is each and every word, but more or less, like it's a kind of a word. It could be like more than one word. Let me give you an example of the tokens, and so that it will be clear for you. As I said, token can be referred as each and every word. Let's look at an example with a prompt. Consider the below example. Here we have generate an email to my boss requesting for sick leave, which is my prompt. And this prompt, you can split that into tokens, which have the 11 tokens are there. And you can understand this 11 tokens is something like this. Generate is one token, an is one token, email is one token, and so on. You can see that generate an email to my boss request. You can see this is a requesting, even though requesting is a single word, but actually you can split this requesting into two words, because this is a continuous tense, request and ing. So that the ChatGPT can understand this is the continuous tense. So the token for this will be the request ing, which is a two tokens for sick leave. All right. So that's the reason, generally you might have the more tokens, then more number of words. And in this case, you can see, let's say we have the 11 tokens for this, and let's say the response that I'm getting from the ChatGPT or GPT models is something like this. Hi boss. Remember, like even a single punctuation mark like comma, colon can also be represents a single token. And something like this, once you have all the response, let's say we have 989 tokens out there. Okay, which means the context tokens can be defined as input tokens plus output token. In our case, let's say it is 11 and 989, which is combined together for the 1000 tokens. Means for a single prompt, means for a single API request that we made, we have the 11 input tokens and 989 output tokens. Altogether, we have the 1000 tokens out there. So that is how we can define the context tokens, and the pricing is based on this 1000 tokens. Cool. Now let's go back to my website. And here I'm in the website, and you can see the prices are based upon 1000 tokens. So sometimes you might also get more than 1000 tokens, or sometimes you might get the less than 1000 tokens. It's all about the proportion of the values, or the proportion of the tokens that we have made is based. The pricing is purely based on this. For example, the GPT-4, you can see the GPT-4 Turbo, the pricing for the GPT-4 Turbo, again, they can have we have 3 different models, that is GPT-4 1 to 5 preview and so on. For that, you can see the pricing for the input tokens is the 0.01 is for the input token, whereas for the output token for this model, the pricing is 0.03 per 1000 tokens and so on. And similarly, you can see the pricing for the GPT 3.5. We'll talk about the input token for that is 0.01 is for the 1K tokens, and for the output token, the prices is 0.020 for the 1K token. So which is less when compared to the GPT-4. It's almost 10 times lesser than the GPT-4 models. Okay, so this is how the pricings are actually made. So based on this, you can select the model whatever you want. Alright, when it comes to the modeling of the GPT-4, there are 2 different types of models out there. One is GPT-4 and GPT Turbo. GPT-4 is a large multi-model model, which means that it will accept the text or image as an input, and it will return the output as a text. It is also used to solve the many difficult problems which the GPT 3.5 doesn't solve. And if you look into the models and also descriptions of this, there are different models or many models we can able to use with the API request, starting from GPT-4 0125, GPT-4 Turbo Preview, GPT-4 1106, and so on. And you can see the description of the model. For example, this is the description is GPT-4 Turbo, and which is the new and latest model. And also you can see there's a context window which will open, or which will take up to 128000, which means 128k tokens. And also you can see the training data of this. It is up to train up to April 2023. And also you can see the different models of the different GPT models, and also the context window for the different models is also there here. And if you scroll down, you can see the important thing that we have, the difference between the GPT-4 and GPT 3.5 is not significant, particularly for many basic tasks. However, for the complex reasoning situations, only for the reasoning and also some kind of a math solving problems, the GPT-4 is much capable than any of the previous models. And when it comes to the GPT 3.5, again we have the different models out there, whereas the GPT 3.5 Turbo 1106 is the latest GPT 3.5 model, and where we have the context window of 16,385 tokens, and the training data is up to September 2021. So what are the questions or what are the things you ask? It has the training data till September 2021. And like this, we have the different GPT 3.5 models, and at the same time you can see some legacy, which means those are outdated models and probably will remove soon. For example, here you can see the GPT 3.5 Turbo 0613, which will be deprecated in July 13, 2024. Okay, so wherever you find some legacy, and if at all you want to use this legacy model, please be careful, because those models will be deprecated very soon. Okay, so like this, we have some of the different models. These are what are the models that we have used, or what I've discussed is the GPT model, also known as the text generated models. And next we have some DALL-E, which is the image generation. TTS is the text to speech. Whisper is a speech to text. Embeddings, moderations, GPT base, etc. Cool. So like this, we have the different models out there, and you can now be able to connect to the different models. Now let's quickly go back to the where we have standout is this. Let's go back to my code, and here we can see the model that we have used is GPT 3.5 Turbo. Okay, by default it is asking GPT 3.5 Turbo, and if at all you want to connect to the different models, just select the model that you want to use. For example, let me go select the different model of the GPT 3.5 Turbo. Fine, scroll down, and here the model I'm using is this. Let me use a GPT 3.5 Turbo. What I can use, simply let me copy this text and go to the code and paste this here. Done. This is how we can select the model. Next, when it comes to the messages, we have the two different types of roles that I have set. One is the role for the system, which means for the ChatGPT or GPT 3.5 model, and here you can set, like, what are the assistant you want from the model. It's saying that, like, by default it's giving some kind of a poetic assistant skilled in explaining the complex programming concept with the creative flair. Instead, let me give some generic things specifying that you are a helpful assistant, which is general purpose, and it's know about all the topics and not into the specific thing. Suppose you want to know some details about the specific thing, then just give the context as the specific thing about the questions that you have. Okay, now this is the prompt that I want to use, or the user is requesting for, which will you need to provide here in the prompt here. Now what I'll do is, let me ask write, or let's do the same thing what we have did in the previous lesson, or the previous prompt that we have is write an email to my boss for sick leave, and mention something like my boss name is John and my name is Mike. Okay, that's it. So you can simply execute this. So for that, what I will do is, let me first execute step by step. Let me execute this first two lines. Let's select this, and I'll execute the line by line, and I can execute the selection in Python console. Simply the shortcut key is Alt Shift A, and let me connect to the OpenAI first. And with this, you can see that I got the success message, which means I have successfully connected to the OpenAI. Now let me send the prompt to this thing, or basically this is the API. This is how we're going to send to the OpenAI service, and from there we're going to receive the message. Okay, now let's select this and execute the selection in Python. It will take a while. Please be patient while you are getting the request from the OpenAI. Alright, so we have successfully got the message, and we got successfully received the information from the OpenAI. And let's see how we can retrieve the information, how we can retrieve the message from the OpenAI. For that, let's go to the documentation. You can scroll down, and there you can see that it is asking, in order to view the message, it will there in the choices of 0, and then you need to see the message. What it means is the completion is actually the variable name where we got all the request information, and here this is my completion. Let me expand this, and in the completion you can see we have the choices is there, which is a data type of list, and the number of values that we have, or the number of elements that we have in the list, is 1. Let me expand this, and inside this let's select the 0, and inside this you can see there is a message. That is what we are actually interested here. Inside the message we have the content, and this is what the message that we are actually interested. Okay, so what we can do is let me inspect this, or let's do one thing. Let me print this. We can simply print this using, first let me take the completion dot, and from the completion we need to go to the completion we have to go to the choices, and in the choices, which is actually the list, let's do one thing. Let's select this and custom view in the data view. We can see that data of the how it is getting, or let's see, inspect. Yeah, this is cool. So inside that we have the choices, and inside the choices, because we are in the choices, in that we need to select the element 0, and inside the element we have the messages. In the messages, the content, which is actually the information, is there, and I just want to see this information. The information is this. Let me view this, and it means that this is the subject, is a request for sick leave. Dear John, I hope this message finds you well, and blah blah blah, and you can see the. Okay, let's do the same thing, and we need to select the 0, and after that we have to, in the 0 we have to go for message and dot content. That's it. So this is what the message from the ChatGPT, or the request that we got from ChatGPT, and you can print the message. Let's close this. Now let's select this and execute the selection, and here you go. This is what the output from the OpenAI API request from the model GPT 3.5 Turbo 1106, and this is the output that we have. You can see that the subject is request for the sick leave, and dear John, and I hope this message finds you well, or something like this, and finally we got the output. Cool, right? So this is how we can able to create what are the prompt you want. Let's do one thing. Let me replace, let's say this is my prompt with the variable prompt, and here let's write the prompt here, and let's say the triple quotes. And now see how we are getting this, and let's say try with a different prompt. Let's say write a short article about football. Okay, so I'm just trying to make it more generalized. Now let's select this, and you need to execute the selection. Let's wait for a few seconds until you get the message from the OpenAI API. Cool. You can see that we got the output, and this is the very short article about the football. The football is often referred as a saucer. In some countries is one of the most popular sport, and so on. And beautiful, right? This is how we can able to get the request from the OpenAI. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and please subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much.